and welcome back to the Baseball Development Hub podcast. My name is Trevor Powers, and I am joined on this podcast by co-host Dan Galati. Dan, Sunday morning here recording. Episode's going to drop on a Monday. How are we doing on this fine, gloomy North Carolina Sunday?
Doing good. Yeah, we've had some bad weather this week. It's felt way more like the middle of winter than early fall. Usually our falls are fantastic, and it's felt eerily like the middle of December this weekend, unfortunately. But all things said, doing pretty good. Excited for to get on here and talk ball with you.
Yeah, as always, running the Saturday, the weekend errands, and yesterday felt like a Thanksgiving week grocery run. The funniest part about North Carolina is while I am a weather snob through and through, I don't like the cold at all. I'm somebody who will wear extra layers of clothing just to not be cold. Um, the amount of puffer jackets, the amount of beanies, the amount of scarves I saw, and for our northern folk who listen to this podcast, it was 62 degrees when I saw these people. Like it was
It was
full
cold.
fledged like it was full fledged like April baseball weather in the Northeast. Like a little bit, no sun, little windy, so it had a little bit of gloom and doom to it, but it definitely felt colder. I'll give people the benefit of the doubt on that, but the amount of people that I saw looking like it was January on this gloomy Saturday morning was a lot. A lot of hot coffees coming out of Whole Foods. A lot of panic mode as it felt like winter.
Expose yourself, bougie shopping at Whole Foods.
Yeah, Bill. I
That's
send the
high
wife
end
in, and she
grocery
comes
shopping.
out with a lot more groceries than we need, just because we needed one or two things specifically that only Whole Foods has. But conversation for another day, probably a dinner table conversation, Dan. But we're in the thick of playoff baseball. So we wanted to hop on here and talk a little bit about some of the intricacies that come with postseason baseball, right? Obviously, so many people, are a lot more in tune and watching more games and the intensity and everything that comes into play. And I think the most fascinating part about postseason baseball for me, and I think you would agree with this, is we spend and we build rosters for 162. And the art of winning baseball games in a 162 setting when fourth and fifth starters are a part of the equation and when bullpen pieces that typically don't throw, guys are getting rest days and you're not going to your best guys immediately and you have to tap into that depth a little bit. And then how that specifically translates into offensive success, being able to have your 1, 2, 3 hitters in your lineup in terms of value take advantage of those lesser arms and how that can put crooked numbers and big numbers in the big innings up on the board. So as you've kind of dialed into the postseason this year and specifically your beloved Phillies, what are some things that have kind of stood out to you about the differences in approach, the differences in an offensive success, the differences on the pitching side of being able to roll, high leverage arms out on a consistent basis that puts a lot of pressure on hitters?
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting thing when you watch postseason baseball is it looks nothing like the regular season. If you're someone who, like me, who sits and watches 6 months of baseball from opening day through the end of the regular season, um, if you really then turn the page to October and playoff baseball and kind of digest what's happening, it's incredible because it really is two different types of baseball. It's a completely different game in the postseason. And I think some of the biggest things for that are when you look at how offenses operate in the regular season, I don't think people realize just how often managers are punting from a pitching side during the regular season because you play so many games. And you kind of just hit on it there a little bit. And it's so much of like pitcher usage, right? These guys you have to get a certain number of guys through 6 months of baseball. And when you get to the playoffs, you have more rest days built in. Obviously, you have the travel days, and every year now they start the postseason on the same day, and then they want to split the two leagues up. So they alternate every year which league gets an extra off day in the DS, and that can shorten your pitching staff even more. Where you're in the middle of July on a Thursday, and a high leverage reliever's thrown 2 days in a row, you're not seeing him. So they're going to go to someone else who's not good enough. And your offense can kind of feast, and how that translates into not even like the best guys in the lineup, but the bottom part of the lineup, or the role players in a lineup, right? The guys who hit 6 through 9 in a lineup, like some of those guys put up numbers. Like, for example, I'll just call this guy out, and he's struggling a little bit for other reasons too. But like Andy Pages of the Dodgers hit 27 home runs in the regular season. Andy Pages has been one of the Dodgers' worst offensive players in the playoffs. He has, I think, 1 or 2 hits. Maybe both came in the wild card round. I know he went hitless in the DS against the Phillies. He was the guy who reached on the fatal error to end that series. But um, it's just like fascinating because you look at it and you're like, well, this guy, you look, and you're like, man, the Dodgers lineup is so deep, it's 27 homers. But I would have to go back and look. I don't watch the Dodgers every day. Like, how many homers, I want to know, did Andy Pages hit against guys that are throwing on the mound in the playoffs? And I'm talking 1, 2, 3 starters, 7, 8, relievers who are taking down the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. And everything is so much more matchup oriented in the playoffs. Whereas like when we use relievers in the regular season, like a lot of times you're like, I'm going to this guy, this is his inning, no matter what. Like, you go, I need you to get me through this inning, even if it's the 7th inning. Like, I'm not going to do a lot of moving and shaking, especially with the 3-batter minimum now. And I think that's where this has kind of changed a lot recently. Is in the regular season, you're not going to manipulate with a 3-batter minimum. Like, you're just going to let that reliever go out there. You're not playing the matchup. You're not doing that. Whereas now in the playoffs, you know who's coming up in an inning. You know, if this guy's the 5th hitter, like, you're taking that reliever that's in the game out. Maybe you're having the starter go face one guy, an extra guy in that inning, so then you can go to a reliever. You're matching everything up and playing it and trying to turn it to your advantage. And that causes offenses to kind of have to completely change how they operate a little bit. Like, how many more bunts do we see? How important is it then to do the things that we have talked about have kind of fallen behind a little bit? Like, it raises the level of defense you have to be able to play. It raises the level of base running you have to play. And we've already seen several games in this postseason where like defense and base running have won and lost you the game because the pitching is so good that you can't really slug your way. And even the teams that have kind of put up big numbers offensively so far in this postseason, I think of like the Brewers and the Blue Jays, they aren't teams that are built like the Yankees, Phillies, and Dodgers. Those teams who like, they have guys who legitimately scare you to take you out of the park all the time. No, they're guys who can see high level pitching and still put pressure on the defense by putting the ball in play.
Yeah, and I think to even you talked a lot about the bullpens management and things like that. I even think it goes into the starting pitchers, right? And I think the example is a game that you were watching while we were coming back from Richmond this week in Blake Snell versus Jesus Luzardo. The beauty of those two guys are wicked stuff, closer level stuff each and every time they roll out there, but inconsistencies. And what you see is in terms of strategies, how much was Blake Snell's breaking ball and changeup usage up compared to the regular season? Because every inning is high leverage. So now as a hitter, you have to build your approach over understanding that now the fastball that he has, and Blake Snell's blessed to have 97 in the tank, but it's kind of his third best pitch in that range. It's kind of 1-to-1 with the changeup in terms of his quality, right? He's not using it, right? Like every inning matters to the extent of basically like Bryce Harper, you're coming up in this inning, and it's this example that I use, and it's first and second, 1 out. Obviously, Citizens Bank's rocking because there's a little bit of momentum. They feel the energy. Bryce Harper's trying to have his moment. And what does Snell do? Spin, 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 spin. Get yourself out, right? And again, that's super valuable. But in the regular season, does Snell feel the need to empty the tank in the 6th inning with all sliders, right? Maybe he sneaks a heater in there. Maybe he's trying to work on something. Maybe he crosses the plate and goes high and in with the heater to change eye levels. And what guys have a tendency to do with those fastballs, maybe it gets center cut in a 2-1 count and Harper deposits it into the seats, right? That focus, that awareness, that strategy that comes into just emptying the tank every inning. And Luzardo is a great example as well. Like, again, this is a guy that when you go into those games, you're like, let's get 4 good. And he gave him 6 really good. But you're like, let's get 4 good. So when he comes out inning 1, it's sweeper, change up, heater up, right? Like, he is completely all over the board with his stuff and emptying the tank with his best stuff because his goal is to get through 4 really good high level innings, and then they're going to go to the next guy. So I think it even makes hitting against starting pitchers, even these ace level arms that you see, 10 times harder because you can't build your approach based off this ho hum he's going to try to settle in. No, he's emptying the tank early in that game with his best stuff, and specifically probably with more off speed stuff, making it more challenging on you. And you have to be on your toes immediately when you step in the box to combat that approach from a pitching staff.
Yeah, and I think even what you said there, like how I would kind of frame it, is like in the regular season, I almost feel like the mindset is to get in through as many innings as possible, and in the postseason, it's get as many outs as possible. If that makes sense, and I know that can kind of sound like the same thing, but what I mean by that is like to your point with that at bat with Snell versus Harper, we've seen a lot of high leverage at bats like this, and um, you're emptying the tank in the sixth inning, not thinking about the seventh inning. Where in the regular season, it's like, I need to save. Like they kind of need me to go deep. I'm going to continue to try and go deeper into this game. Like, yeah, if I leave one over the plate and give up a couple runs to Harper here, and I end up getting 7 innings, 2 runs, that's a good start. We're in the playoffs, like that could lose you the game right there in that inning. Crooked number can lose you the game. So like, I'd rather walk him here, get through this sixth inning, empty the tank, and then we go to the bullpen, but keep the game where it's at. And, Snell obviously worked his way out of that and executed the pitchers and got Harper out. And you saw that completely swung the momentum where, and then the next inning, Luzardo trots out there for the seventh, 2 singles, and they immediately pull him. Where in the regular season, he was at 84 pitches, 2 singles in the seventh inning in a regular season game, even if it is 0-0, he's staying in the game, right? Like you're at 84 pitches, dude. You're throwing, go out there.
Yeah.
We'll come get you when you give up runs. And I think that kind of also then on the offensive side highlights why it's so important to kind of have almost a more team-wide approach within an individual approach setting. And that I think is a fun thing to see at the major league level, because this fall and summer, how many schools have we been to talking to hitting coaches? Like I think of Hefner, and I think of, Nick Puccio and Colin Raddick at Richmond. And we've talked about this exact thing. Like, how do you have a team identity, but still treat these guys individually? And I think that's really kind of hard to do at the big league level, because these guys are all, for the most parts, like they're veterans in the big leagues. They're kind of set in their ways a little more. And so like it becomes imperative to construct your roster with more of the same guys who kind of buy into a philosophy but have their own ways of going about it than it is to just go get individual star hitters, maybe.
Yeah.
Where you look at like kind of what the Phillies lineup and the Yankees lineup specifically looks like. It's like, yeah, Judge is fantastic. He's great. Last year, Soto, like, but do they have a team-wide approach? And if that team-wide approach is just like, we don't care if you punch and hit homers, like you're going to punch a lot in the postseason. The arms, you're seeing all those really good arms. It works in the regular season if you're the Yankees and you're facing the Baltimore Orioles 4th and 5th starters in a weekend series. Those guys aren't good enough. You're not going to see those guys in the postseason. They don't exist. And so even the guys who aren't as good, so again, ignore Joe, like Austin Wells. Yeah, he can get fat against those guys. But when Austin Wells then is getting left matched up out of the pen with Aroldis Chapman in a postseason series,
Yeah,
he's getting
in the
obliterated.
inning, rather than the
Right,
ninth.
because
Like, yeah, them going to Chapman for 5. Yep.
Because he can't, like Austin Wells doesn't have that shoot the ball to left field when I have this matchup in me. Austin Wells has one gear. Aroldis Chapman's going to be able to nullify that gear. Like, because even if he does make a mistake, it's 101. It's kind of hard to hit. And that's why I think it's like fascinating, like and it's a tough challenge. I don't mean to say this like, oh, it's the easiest thing in the world. Like you can do it. It's a lot easier said than done to build a team identity. But I look at kind of the teams, and maybe this is just reactionary, but I look at the teams like, because I will even throw the Dodgers in this. The Dodgers just have better players at it. But when you look at how the Dodgers lineup is and how it's constructed, like it's like, obviously it circles around the first 4 in their lineup. And when you look at Ohtani and Betts and Freeman and Tasker Hernandez, they're all fantastic. But then like the other guys in that lineup, like what the pressure they're able to put on you is like when you have high leverage guys like Tommy Edmonds able to still shoot a ball the other way or do damage and not be just like an automatic out because he's overmatched. And, Will Smith, who's coming back from it, like fantastic. Like, but the Brewers and the Jays have this team-wide approach, and they have stars in it in the middle lineup who are obviously better than kind of the other guys, but everyone in that lineup kind of adheres by the same principles. Where like even Vlad Jr., who's a threat to go deep all the time, is also in the first inning when he's getting a 94-mile-an-hour cutter off the plate away with 2 strikes against Cam Schlittler, is going to be able to take it down the line for an RBI double.
Yeah, and it's so funny you say this because I saw a clickbait merchant on social media say something of the lines of the Phillies have a like lack in team approach and like almost have it more individualized kind of type thing. And I kind of roll my eyes at that a little bit. But to a certain extent, after I was watching some film with an athlete that I still work with, and we were talking through approach and just trying to build some stuff. So we looked at the Blake Snell inning where Bryce Harper struck out and kind of digesting it, and then we looked through a little bit of what the Dodgers did well to get Luzardo out of there, and then you had going to the pen, and then what they were able to manufacture in terms of runs. And the thing that I had noticed was actually accurate in the fact that like the Phillies' approach was terrible, like terrible, right? Like the ability to adjust, and so what was most frustrating about that inning had nothing to do. Yes, Blake Snell executed, and yes, Blake Snell is a great slider. It's thinking you're going to get a fastball when you're Bryce Harper in a high leverage situation, and it's so obvious because every pitch matters in those moments. That the second he goes 0-0 slider, that the rest you're going to get is sliders, and being beat by just hanging breaking balls and thinking you're going to get something else, and being out in front of these pitches thinking you're going to get a fastball. And I know hitting's harder than that, but like that was the thing that I came to that inning, is not that Blake Snell got out of a jam, it's that the Phillies were allowed him to get out of a jam, right? The thing he used against righties all inning in any advantage count for a hitter: change up, change up, change up. He showed it to Trey Turner, he showed it to what's his name, the 9 hitter, I forget his
Otto
name. You
Kemp.
would know. Otto Kemp. Yep. Showed it to that when it shows it to the 9 hitter, and then Baum gets in a 2-0 count, first and second, and he rolls over a changeup. And it's like, how are we not able to adjust? If I can sit here and watch this with clear eyes and completely understand the situation and go, I'm not looking for a fastball 2-0. Yeah, in May, Alec Bob, I would look for a fastball 2-0, right? Because he's trying to get you to, get out of this inning as quick as possible. And we got to get through this long haul. No, he's emptying the tank. He's emptying the tank. And the Dodgers, and then Teoscar goes out there the next inning and gets to 2 strikes, 2-2 against Luzardo. And he tries to get him out with a changeup, and he does a very good job of staying through it and base knock line drive up the middle. And the reason he was able to do that is because at one point, Luzardo showed his hand earlier there that when I'm in a out count, right? Like I'm trying to get you out. This is the pitch I'm trusting. So many people want to think that like that's what building an approach is. And I'm going to try not to get down this rabbit hole, is when a pitcher shows his hand, whether it's in a high leverage situation, 0-0 Bryce Harper scenario. He showed what pitch he wants to get you out with because it's high leverage and every pitch matters. It's first and second, momentum's on your side, 1 out. I can't let you hit a home run. The pitch caller, pitcher, pitching coach, catcher, whoever, is going to go to the out pitch right away. Right away. And that's what I was explaining to this athlete is when you see that, now you build your approach around it. In the first inning, nobody on, nobody out. If he goes first pitch slider, he still has the whole book. But in high leverage situations, pitching coaches, catchers, and pitchers go to their out pitch right away. Bases loaded, nobody out. We can't walk this run in. We're going to our strike pitch early, and that's the pitch we're going to use often, as long as we stay in advantage. So then when we get into hitters counts at later points, right, we need to take that stock of what he showed his hand in and use that to our advantage. Teoscar did it. The Phillies did not, right? Alec Bohm couldn't make that adjustment. Bryce Harper couldn't make that adjustment. Teoscar Hernandez did. Base knock, that's the difference, right? That is the difference of being able to adjust on a pitch-by-pitch basis versus being able to adjust, not adjust, simply, plain and simple, not adjust and not see the right. Like, again, if I can sit here from my couch and map out what Blake Snell's game plan is, that is where the Phillies went wrong, is they did not, right? Like somehow, some way, they weren't picking up on the signs that Blake Snell was very, very obviously going to the changeup in hitters counts against righties to get the off balance swing. And against lefties, he was going to the slider often. And the 1-0 pitch that Harper missed was the series in my mind. That was the series. Like, if he pulls that and puts that in the right center gap and they're up 1-0 and that crowd's rocking because he pulled off of it because he was looking for something else. And I don't know why.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is because I don't want to act like that long balls aren't important in the playoffs.
Well,
But
that was going to be my next point, but then I got in the approach tangent, so I would like to talk about that.
Because to my, like, I don't want to say that but my thing is what the difference between what the successful teams in the playoffs do in the successful line is like taking what you can get and just taking what you're going to get. Because again, like, what makes baseball so unique is that the defense, it's the only sport where the defense has the ball, right? Every other sport, the offense, you have the ball, you dictate. The defense dictates to you in baseball because they're the one who has the ball and they're delivering a pitch every time. So sometimes you just have to take what they give you, right? And if you're going to come by the long balls in the postseason come off of mistakes, right? And like
The
even in
1-0
that
hanging slider to Harper.
take that series, for example, like in game 3, the game the Phillies won where they hit 3 long balls, like it was mistakes. It was a rolling slider by Kershaw to Real Muto that was just stayed middle down. The 2-0 fastball to Schwarber, like that was middle by Yamamoto. Like those are the times you get your home run. You're not going to get those mistakes as often as you do because again, the guy's on the mound. Blake Snell doesn't make those mistakes that often, and in high leverage spots, he's really not, like you're saying, he's emptying the tank. So there, it's like, looking at Teoscar and looking so many times in that series, the Dodgers is like, okay, well, this is what you're giving me. I'm going to take it. I don't need to try and swing for the fences here. And again, to your point, like Harper, it's like a single to left center field is fine there.
And well, I
And
think I'll be
2-0
honest.
to
I'll go a further
Alec
step.
Baum, like, yeah, go ahead.
If he's looking for a slider there and has an approach, he hits a homer. I went back and looked at the swing. If he builds his approach around that information Snell had showed Schwarber the at bat before him, he walked Schwarber on a 3-1 slider to make it first and second. He literally showed you every card that he wanted to play, and you go up there and you're off balance on a 1-0 slider. It's not trying to do too much. It's not overcomplicating the system and understanding that if he was 100% sold out on that slider in that situation, he would have hit it for a home run. The problem was he was 50-50, and you're right in the fact that it was trying to do too much. If he was just trying to hit a backside double, he probably would have pulled it into the right field seats. Yes, 100%.
And that's the thing. Like, it's right. And you see so many, and then that's, again, why the role players become even more important in series like that. Because, again, when you look at everyone has guys in the lineup that are circled, they're not going to beat you. Shohei Ohtani went 1 for 19 in that series with, I think, like 9 strikeouts. Well, how do you win the series if that's Freddie Freeman, similar numbers, right? It's like, well, they're 2 of the best hitters. If you think you can handle those guys, how do you do it? Well, it's like the guys, again, down the order, they take what they get in that series because those a lot of times are the guys who are going to get the kind of better pitches to hit, but that still doesn't mean, hey, I need to lose a ball and I'm still just going to get fed fastballs. It's like, no, it's just like the sliders and changeups you're going to get are going to get more of the plate. Those pitches are going to get more of the plate. So now how do you then, like you said, how do you stay on that and stay through those pitches and understand that in this count, if I'm a right-handed hitter, Blake Snell is going to throw me changeups or Yamamoto is going to throw me a splitter or Glasnow is going to break a curveball off. It's like, okay, well, you need to understand that. And like, you can single a team to death. Like, because in every situation, to our point, like the Dodgers go 2 singles off Luzardo, and even if they didn't score in that inning, you got Luzardo out of the game. And sometimes in the playoffs, that's a win in itself. It's like, get him out of the game and get someone new, because in the regular season, maybe that guy stays out there and you don't come through with the run scoring hits, but pressure's on now. You have first and second. That's a big deal. They don't want this inning to get away from them because 1 or 2 runs can win or lose you a game. So now they're going to go to the bullpen, and now you're getting a different look. So like, that's a part of it too. It's like you have to take what's given to you. And that's why maybe this is a little reactionary of me, but when you look at the Brewers and the Jays offenses, that's what they do so well. They have a bunch of guys in their lineup who are like, we're going to put pressure on you. We're going to find barrel. I don't care if it goes over the fence or not. I don't care. I'm never going to get out of my approach. I'm never going to like, again, it's just like you can't just sit there and think that you've earned a fastball and a hitter's count in the postseason. The regular season, sure, you've earned it. You work it count to 2-0, you work it count to your advantage. You've probably earned that pitch, and you'll probably get it because again, we're in it for the long haul. If it's May, man, like we're playing until September. We got 150 more of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well, again, we
you'll
talked
get your
about
fastball.
bullpen management right there. Is like your job as a starter. As much as people want to believe that starters' jobs aren't to go deep in the game now, and we're pulling, yeah, it's still to get as deep in the game. Like these guys, like Garrett Cole, is the best in the league at doing that, of giving up a 5 spot in the first and still going 7. Right, like that is still a
Crazy.
goal of a starting pitcher. Right, if you give up 5 in the first in the postseason, next guy, let's go, revolving door. Right, like we're in and out, we're in and out, we're in and out. Right, but to kind of build off of this point, because I do think when you look at what creates postseason success, I think the thing that I would hang my hat on of being the one, if you gave me before the game the team that led in this stat category, I would bet my house on every game. It's the who wins the multi-home run battle. And what I mean by that is who hits more 3-run home runs is basically what it comes down to. And it kind of builds off those points, right? We're kind of sitting here saying you have to battle as an offense. We're kind of sitting here saying all these things, right? And it's completely accurate. But crooked numbers win baseball games and high leverage games. And every pitcher can get got, right? But the thing is, and this is going to kind of build back to what we're saying, it's about building lineups that are multiple, right? So what you've seen MLB orgs that do.
I think sometimes when we talk about the 3-run homer, we only focus on the homer.
Yes,
how did you get the two guys 100%. On to then hit the 3-run homer?
100%. And it's by putting pressure on them, yes. And I think that's when you talk about these lineups, like the Brewers, like the Jays, like the Dodgers. It's Max Muncy hitting behind Will Smith, right? Will Smith's a different hitter than Max Muncy. The Yankees have a lot of similar hitters, right?
Same
Jazz Chisholm has some swing and miss, but he has some juice. Austin Wells has some swing and miss, but he has some juice.
Ben Rice.
All of these guys, right? Ben Rice has some swing and miss, but he has some juice, right? All of these guys that aren't as competitive, but like you make it easier on the opposition to game plan when everybody is a left-handed hitter with some swing and miss. And yeah, sure, maybe Ben Rice struggles with a heater and Austin Wells struggles with a slider, right? Like maybe, right? Maybe we're game planning around that. But it puts so much less pressure rather than, Tommy Edman might not be as good or competitive as a Max Muncy is in the regular season, but when they are together, it puts a lot of pressure on the opposition so that when Tommy Edman puts together a good at bat, Max Muncy's more in a better position to take advantage of the mistake, right? And all the things that come into that. And then again, take it to the next step, especially we want to talk about the Yankees. Why was Juan Soto such a valuable commodity in Major League Baseball? It's because not only does he hit a bajillion home runs, he's a 40 homer back-to-back year guy, he also walks more than he strikes out. He always puts together a good at bat. He hits high level pitching. Look at what he did in the postseason last year. So you want to talk about this $700 million man, and we're gonna replace him in the aggregate. And I know the Yankees were aggressive. I'm not saying that they were okay with letting Soto go, but all these things. That's why he was so important to this team. That team could have won 115 regular season games. Not having Juan Soto in that lineup matters because it just increased the margin for error when you have a guy that can do everything. Look at the postseason game against the Guardians last year when he hit the big home run. It's like, I don't care what reliever you're throwing. I don't care if you're throwing 110 mile per hour cutters. I don't care if you're throwing puss balls. I don't care what you're throwing. I'm better than you. And right. Judge is the best hitter on the planet right now. He doesn't have that level of compete against the high level arms because there still is some swing and miss in the game. He just finally had his moment with the home run off the foul pole against the 100 mile per hour arm on a pitch that, like, Soto does that with regularity, right? Like that is Soto's like normal, is to compete against arms like that. So again, when you pull a Juan Soto out of that lineup and replace him with a Cody Bellinger and a Ben Rice and all those guys, over 162, they replace him in the aggregate 100%. You can platoon your way through that. But when you're facing the best pitching at the most important time, there's nobody in the world who is better in this sport right now than Juan Soto to be in those situations.
Yeah, and I think too, like you see sometimes these guys who don't have good regular seasons, and then like in the postseason they just show up, and like everyone's like, well, they think it's some magical pill that they take that like they're just and sure, there's guys who can increase their focus level. There's no doubt about it, but I think some of these guys that Kike Hernandez is the most recent example I'll give you right now. And it's like every year Kike Hernandez does something in the playoffs and has a good postseason, and you look at his regular season numbers and he's like below replacement value. And it's like I think that Kike Hernandez becomes more valuable in the postseason because it's not a he's just a big time player or whatever. It's like when the rest of the lineup is puts so much pressure on you because of how balanced they are. And like you were talking about the different types of hitters they have in the lineup. And like you go from an Otani to a Betts to a Freeman to a Teoscar to a Will Smith to a Max Muncy. And you're like, oh, here comes Kike Hernandez. And it's like, yeah, well, Kike Hernandez is going to put the ball in play. And like he's going to, like, when you think you have a breath, like you can do that. And that's how it kind of like you see it with the Milwaukee Brewers, right? And it's like, oh, man, Bryce Terang's a pest. And then like Yelich is a pest. And William Contreras is like a 330 hitter. I know he didn't hit that this year, but like, you know what I mean? Like William Contreras is a 300 hitter who has juice. And then like you get through him and then it's like, oh, we got Sal Frelick. And it's like, yeah, but Sal Frelick isn't going to punch, right? Like Sal Frelick's going to be able to put the ball in play and run and like, so you think you do, and then he's getting pitches over the plate. Now he's just moving the line. And next thing you know, you've spun the lineup again, and here comes Bryce Terang again, who like, oh, we just dealt with this guy. How is he back up again? It's like, well, because guys like a guy like Frelick's down there, and you think you have a breather because it's Sal Frelick, but here he comes and he's going to put together an at bat against you, and like you don't actually have the time to breathe, and because the pressure is amplified and every pitch becomes so important, like when you can be able to balance your lineup like that, and it's kind of like a never say die approach. And I think the other thing too is being able to kind of pass the bat and trust the guy behind you is so important. Like, and that's where it comes back to like, don't try and do too much. Like, we don't need a hero. We just need all 9 guys to really kind of buy into the team approach and trust that, like, hey, if they want to walk the middle of our order, fine, that's good for us because you know we trust that the guys behind us are going to be able to then drive those guys in. But if the guys in the middle of the order feel like they have to be the ones, you know, like, and I think that's kind of what the Yankees have run into a little bit, especially the years without Soto. It's like Aaron Judge feels like he has to do it all, and that's why he doesn't perform as well in the postseason. It's like Aaron Judge, if you just go up there and walk every at bat this postseason, and I thought he did a great job this year. It was like Aaron Judge was hitting a bunch of singles, and like
Yeah.
if we then have guys who continue to fit into that approach and take what they're given and do the things that we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes, like Judge, you had a great postseason, man. Like you're on base, you're causing havoc and you're putting pressure on the other team, and you're making them have to make tougher decisions because as soon as a runner gets on first base in the postseason, it's a rally, and that's kind of like been one of the oldest adages in baseball, and that forces the manager to start thinking about going to the bullpen. That starts putting more pressure on the pitcher, and that's when the mistakes do happen. And when again, the mistake can be a 1-0 slider. It's not a 1-0 fastball down the middle all the time, right? It's a 1-0 slider that they do leave on the plate when they don't mean to. And if your approach is I'm taking what they're giving me, and you know, I mean, we were going crazy during that Harper Snell at bat that we've talked so much about. We were on 95, knowing exactly how it was going to be pitched, and you just kept saying, "Bang this off the left center field wall, bang it off the left center field," because we were both like, "Here comes this pitch, here comes this pitch," and it's like, "Oh, will he go fastball here?" No, he's probably going to bounce a curveball to get back to the slider instead of sneaking fastball. And it's
Yeah. And
like,
again, like it's late in the game. I'm sure he showed it earlier, but like so many people, oh, he's going to change my, like, again, hitters get themselves so confused. We get on the seesaw, we start playing these games. And to me, the best way to coach hitting, and especially high leverage situations where we know, there's emotions, there's a lot of stuff, is to simplify it. And I basically, let's play a game of chance, right? We're gambling here. Let's move all our chips in on one pitch. And then if we, are given information until we get to 2 strikes, let's use that information to the best of our advantage. So for Harper, trying to be fastball adjust in that situation, it's not going to work. It's not, right? Like
that's a
it's just
92 mile an hour slider breaking away from you. You got no
yeah,
chance.
you have no chance, right? Like because that little tentative part where if we can take the information, and I think what the Dodgers did so well, they did so well on both sides of the ball, was like instead of changing eye levels with a fastball, they changed his eye level with a curveball. And it's like, that's genius. Genius,
Mm-hmm.
because your approach is to empty the tank and have things breaking away and limit damage and try to get a soft contact out here and not allow Harper to get something in his turbo zone to get up into the right field bleachers and things like that. So instead of trying to sneak a fastball by him and hoping and praying that he doesn't miss his location, let's just bury a curveball, because what's the worst that can happen, right? Oh, it was in the dirt and he takes it for a ball. But what ended up happening is A, his hands moved, which means it worked, even though he didn't swing. And B, we've just now opened it back up where now we're going to actually speed him up with the slider that he struggled with already. K, right? Boom. Right after that, K, right? And it's just like, yeah, 100%. It's like, what is the pitch that he's going to trust the most in this situation? Let's push our chips in on that, and let's just try to change the game with one swing of the bat. And that's what, like you said, we sat there that whole at bat. It's like, what would you do here if you're a pitching coach? Well, I'd just spin him to death. What would I do if I was a hitting coach? Hey, man, he's going to spin you to death. And then when he missed the 1-0, at bat's over,
Over.
right? And then he
And I,
chased the next pitch. It was ill planned. And then Baum kind of did the same thing. And Schwarber missed some pitches there too, where he was like caught off guard by sliders. It's like, what are we doing? I know he's got 97, but like it was a bad inning approach wise for that offense.
and I think there's like situations like that one, and this might sound crazy to people, but it's almost like Harper, if you go up there and he paints 3 fastballs at the knees and you never move the bat off your shoulder, yeah. Which obviously in hindsight, like people will not accept that. But sometimes in my mind, it's like, because what are the odds of we have all this information? You have his pitch mix, you know what he's going to go to. Like you said, we're in the 6th inning now. He showed his hand. So in a high leverage at bat like that, I'm not saying doing that from jump street in the game is the right way to do it. And from your first bat at bat on, some guys can, but like once he's shown that information to you, I feel way more comfortable doing that, because it's almost like, you know, that he's not going to do that. Even if he starts you with one, like he's just showing you
Don't
that
come
to
off
get
it.
you
Yep.
off of the slider. Like, can you be steadfast in your approach? And that's where the mental side of things comes in, is that you have to be steadfast in your approach. And all of this, I think, comes back to the mentality, right? It's like a mental side of like, are you thinking with the game? Like, can you trust in the numbers? Can you trust in what he's shown you during the game? Can you trust in what the point I just made last time, a minute ago? Can you trust in the guy behind you? Like, hey, Harper, if you take this walk here, bases loaded, 1 out, do you trust that Alec Baum is going to be able to hit a sacrifice fly? That's part of it. And
No, I mean, you should.
no,
You
he
should. Like,
doesn't. He
I
doesn't.
mean,
And like that's a different flaw. That's a roster construction flaw on the Phillies' part that they've gone the
yeah.
last 3 postseasons with the guy protecting Bryce Harper's Alec Baum, and that's like a conversation for another day and a whole different podcast. That's not what we're here to talk about. But like that's part of it too, is right. Like, can you trust that guy's going to do that? Like that he will come through, and that again, when you have some of these things like Vlad Guerrero, from what I see, like Vlad's fine letting the guys behind him do it. He'll take his single, and the Milwaukee Brewers, like Christian Yelich is
But
fine with letting William Contreras do it, and
not to
Andrew
throw
Vaughn,
salt on the Harper wound, but I think it's as much of Harper wanting to have his
100% the
moment
showman. You call
as
yourself
it
the
is,
showman, yeah.
yeah, as it is the lack of
But I
trust
also
in the
think
guy
there is
behind
like a
him.
little bit
I'm
more of
sure
like
there is, but I
when
think there's, yeah.
when you look at how successful, I don't even know if I can remember who. I guess they had a better Nick Castellanos hitting behind him in 2022 when he had that nuclear postseason. And it's like, at that point in his career, Nick Castellanos was still a really good, he had a great postseason that year. He was still hitting at a high level, which he doesn't anymore. But like, that's kind of been like, that's why when people make a big deal out of who protects these big stars, like these are the reasons why.
Yeah.
But yes, I
I
think
mean,
the Bryce Harper, like getting inside of the Bryce Harper ego mindset thing of like, well, yeah, when you call yourself the showman, yeah, yes, there is a little bit of like Harper feels like in his head that should be a home run for him right there, and it should be him. And
yes.
and
And he's going to put himself into Philly's lore and everything that comes with that. Yeah. Let's head to the Cubs and Brewers for a second, because I do want to talk about both these teams. And I saw the Cubs in person and just occasionally was thinking about their lineup construction and their roster. And one of the things that I really like, because you brought them up a couple times, is these offenses are multiple, right? You can talk about that in a sport like football all the time, but it's the ability to beat you in different ways. And I thought the Cubs had a really good chance in the postseason specifically. I don't think their depth is where they need it to be. I think they need to be deeper in talent. But when you have a park where the wind is so unpredictable, and especially early in the year, you have to manufacture those runs. They become a thorn in an opposition's side come postseason time because Nico Horner is a guy who's flirting with 300, but also stealing as many bags as he did. Don't have it off the top of my head. Michael Busch is a 30 homer guy. Kyle Tucker is one of the best all around hitters, even though he was hurt, banged up, struggled at times this year. But coming into the year, he's one of the best all around hitters up there with the Sotos, where he can compete against anybody. Seiya is kind of a guy who can leave the yard, but also doesn't strike out a ton, right? Like just a guy who can change the game with one swing of the bat. Hap is a work account, deep in count. I'm going to draw a walk guy. This is where the lineup becomes, right? You have Pete Crow Armstrong, who obviously early in the year, you're aggressive, swing at everything hitter, lightning
Swing at
rod,
everything.
swing at everything,
Which is
emphasis.
why he struggled
Dansby's
in
a
the, and this is
contact
real
guy.
quick, this is why he struggled in the postseason. Because okay, you're gonna swing at everything, you're never gonna get a pitch in the zone.
Yes.
Right. And it's almost that easy. It's like, and those types of guys, right? Nick Castellanos is the same thing. It's like, if you're gonna be that much of a free swinger, free swing your heart out, Javier Baez. Yep. I'm never gonna throw you a pitch in the zone. Why would I? You're not gonna take your walk. In the regular season, pitchers, I'm going to. You're going to get pitches to hit.
I cannot trust the fact, like my bullpen relies on me, my team relies on me. As a starting pitcher, I can't just go out there and be like, PCA, I'm never throwing one over the strike zone, because again, that's not like a valid game plan, because God forbid that at bat he's working on something and it's called like not swinging the bat. And then you look like the idiot freaking burying 3-4 sliders in the dirt and he walks to first base on one of the most aggressive hitters in the league, right? You have to be competitive. But when in the postseason, when that could be like everything is your last batter, right? It is a 1 foot in front of the other approach in the postseason, as you mentioned earlier, right? In the regular season, it's to pitch as many innings as possible. In the postseason, it's just to get an out in front of you, right? Like that's it. You can go out there and empty the well and be like, what's the game plan against PCA? Okay, throw everything off the plate, just make him get himself out, and he'll get himself out, right? But I think when you look at both these offenses, and then the Brewers are kind of the same way, right? Turang, speed guy, contact guy. He's going to put pressure on you. He hits in front of William Contreras, more power guy, all-around hitter guy. Christian Yelich had the all-around hitter guy this year, again, looking like more like MVP Christian Yelich with 29 bombs. He also runs the bases well and puts pressure. Andrew Vaughn's your three true outcome guy. So let's just say Turang gets on, he gets Contreras fastballs because he's a running threat. Contreras goes base knock in the gap, double, second and third. Yelich works a really good count, single, gets 1 run in because he's an all-around hitter. Andrew Vaughn comes up 3-run bomb. Like that kind of lineup construction where it isn't a one-trick pony. And then again, guess what? After our power guy, our 3 true outcome guy, or guy who might strike out in Andrew Vaughn, we flip it. Sal Frelick, another pest. Caleb Durbin, another pest. Blake Perkins, another pest. Joey Ortiz, thanks for your defense. We'll see you next year. Right? Like that is their lineup construction of how they do it. And then it's like, again, you're sweating. Finally, you get to breathe when Joey Ortiz comes up to the plate.
And that's guess what?
Jackson Chourio, who's your your lightning rod, your Kickstarter, all of those things like that. He's at the top of your lineup again. Right? Like that is what a really, really elite lineup construction comes down to. And then again, we've talked about the Yankees. And again, this is not to put salt on a wound right here of a team that just lost in the postseason. It's like Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, swing and miss. Cody Bellinger, meh, like all-around hitter. Giancarlo Stanton, we obviously know, like even if he doesn't strike out a ton, he's not getting a double. He's either hitting it out of the park and jogging or freaking walking to first base. Jazz Chisholm, swing and miss, right? Goldschmidt, old. Ben Rice, swing and miss. Austin Wells, swing and miss. Volpe, whatever Volpe is, right? Like McMahon, swing and miss. Yeah, like it's
all the same hitter. And it becomes so much easier to line up your pitching. Like the Jays clinched that series in a bullpen game because you allow John Schneider to just line up his pitching. because it's like, okay, this guy for this pocket, this guy for this, and they all do the same thing. So even if one of these guys walks, guess what? The next guy's pretty similar to the guy that he just faced that I had him in there for. So we can manage it anyway. Whereas when you're talking about being dynamic and multiple, it's like the way you aggressively manage on the pitching side and you set up guys for pockets of lineups, especially when you get into a bullpen. If one guy doesn't execute on the mound and now a guy has to face someone that you don't have him lined up for, it isn't that pocket. It happened with the Phillies in game 1 of that series when Matt Strom's out there having to pitch to Teoscar Hernandez, which is not the guy
Yeah.
you wanted him for. And he throws a fastball out over the plate. Teoscar Hernandez, thank you. Like, and so, it's completely different. They're two completely different seasons. And, you kind of have to be able to build your roster for postseason, and it's a lot easier said than everything we're saying is a lot easier said than
A
done.
lot easier.
I want that to be like
so
that has to be the main thing of this. Is like it's so much easier said than done.
I'll clean my hands on the approach thing. I don't think that's easy. Like I think that's discipline. I think that's the approach mistakes I saw the Phillies executing, yes, 100%, and building a lineup that you can guarantee is going to work in the postseason. We do this every offseason. We do this every single offseason because there's going to be a team, and this is where, again, people don't give MLB orgs enough credit. That's what I'm going to say, because what has become a thing over the last 2 years is now guys are creating swing and miss stuff with soft contact stuff. It's like in 2021, 2022, like the Astros run and all those times, it was like you could legitimately say, because everybody was turbo, high octane stuff, but vulnerable to the home run. Everybody was chasing vert. Everybody was chasing ride. Those guys were fly ball pitchers, all the stuff like that, right? So, like, you could build lineups that had 6 guys that go just hit bombs, and, like, they could catch heat at the right time, and boom, you're in the World Series. Like because that was what pitching was. Now orgs are starting to see that, like, no, we need guys that have octane, but they also got to keep the ball in the ballpark. And I think offenses are going to be the next to combat this, because that's what the beauty of baseball is. Again, we don't give enough credit to how really, really good and special the modern era of baseball is the fact that now as pitchers are now in a position where not only do we need to get swing and miss, right? We also need to get soft contact and be able to do both and keep the ball on the ground, but use our sinker in a way that gets a ton of swing and misses, and use a split finger or a firm cutter or a slider to get off balance swings and all these things like that. It's not just about chasing vert, and it's not just about chasing that type of swing and miss, right? Vert with a 12-6 off of it, vert with a sweeper off of it, right? That's what the game was 3-4 years ago, and you could kind of get away with the leave the yard offensive approach in the postseason. Right now, teams are so good at finding pitchers. Again, the thing that blows my mind is continue to look at guys that have 100 in the tank and only have like 1K per 9.
Yeah.
Or like 1K per inning. It's like, the frick is that?
Yeah, how's
like,
that possible?
Kirkeren, who's a kicking boy in Philly right now, like, he's got 99 in the tank, but the thing that makes him so good is he was a league leader in average exit velocity against.
Right.
So he's 99 in the tank as a soft contact merchant. And it's like, that's hard to hit against. It's really freaking hard to hit against right now. So
it's become so common, we're starting to command it.
Yes. Which is unbelievable.
Paul Skeens is throwing a 96 mile an hour splinker where he in a coffee cup.
In a coffee cup.
I mean, guys, and Velo's become. Chris Sanchez is throwing 96 to 98 mile an hour sinkers, dotted. What are you supposed to do? Like, these guys are just so impressive. I mean, yeah. Look at Shohei Ohtani. He's got 7 pitches that are all. Yeah.
Well, like, again, like Varland's the guy that gave up to the bomb to
Judge. It was 100
right?
off the plate in.
And it's like, I watched that clip, and I'm like, Louis Varland, he's been in the bigs for a couple years.
Well, yeah, the transition from starter to reliever. Now he's got 100 in the tank.
Yes, and it's just like, oh, you mean the guy that pitched to a 4.94 with the Toronto Blue Jays in the second half after coming over from Minnesota. 4.94 ERA. has 100 in the tank. Like, again, you can sit and you can complain about offenses and hitters and offensive approach all you want. Guys that have 100 in the tank are pitching to 4.94 ERAs over stretches. Like, that is how special the game of baseball is right now. And again, like, that's the craziest part, is that, like, now you're having guys enter games in the sixth inning that throw. Like, I saw a funny clip, 2008 Brad Lidge in the World Series. People were talking about it. It got quote tweeted. It's like 92 from your closer. 92.
It's like a really good slider. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course it started the whole debate about, well, back in 2008 they were catching the velos when it crossed the plate.
Shut
Yeah,
up.
100%. Just put into perspective that Louis Varland is pitching in the seventh inning with 100 in the tank, and Brad Lidge was one of the best relievers in the league at the time, was pitching in the ninth inning with 92.
He was the best reliever in the league that year.
The best reliever in the league that year with 92. Whether it was recorded at the plate or the mound, I don't care.
There's a clip that always gets recycled in October, kind of the end of that previous Phillies era of Ryan Howard. In a go-ahead three-run homer in game one of the NLDS against the Cardinals, and it's like Kyle Loesch out there throwing 89-90.
Dude, that's D2 baseball.
It's like, those are sliders.
Yeah, again, and like, that's why hitting it, again, to hammer home and defend hitters, because we've kind of spent this whole thing trapped. It's like, in 2008, 2010, 2012, Blake Snell, who had 97 and showed 97 maybe 15% of the time against the Phillies in that game, would have only been using 97. Like, no, like, you would, if you time warp from 2012 to 2025 and watch that Blake Snell outing, and pitch 11 of the game is the first time he throws a fastball, and you go, holy crap,
That's why 97? David Price became so. That's why David Price was a star so early on, is because he kind of started doing that a little bit. Now he uses fastball more, but like, it was like, wait, this starter has 98 in the tank with like, yeah. But he doesn't use it.
Unpredictable.
70% of the time.
And it's just like, back in those days, it was like, if you had, like, again, established the fastball, right? Like, all these buzzwords that we had heard so much in pitching and things like that, like, was a thing. And it was a thing in the postseason. Now it's just like, Blake Snell, what's your best pitch? Oh, you have a slider that generates a 40% whiff at the big league level and gets a ton of chase and soft contact as well. Hey, you're going to use that 70% of the time today. And then to righties, you're going to use a changeup. So, like, hell on top of it. And then, oh, whoopsie, you have a really good 12-6 curveball. Like, unbelievable. And we don't give enough credit to baseball players today in the era. But, Dan, let's wrap this podcast up. We always like to discuss some of the programs that we're lucky enough to spend some time with. So after getting a day at Richmond, you mentioned Coach Raddick. Obviously, Coach Aoki gave us a ton of time. That podcast will be out probably next Monday is when we're looking to get that up. Great conversation. A guy who's been at Ivy League programs, Notre Dame, Richmond's a high academic.
Boston
just
College.
A ton of great. Yeah, Boston College, a ton of experience in the modern landscape. As with all of these coaches, the time they give us before is always the best. Having great conversations about the modern landscape of college athletics. What are some of your takeaways from our trip to Richmond and obviously, being able to learn a lot about that program?
Yeah, what a cool kind of like just well-kept secret, I think, like just all around, like that area of Richmond, that campus, that school academic-wise. I don't know how many people outside of kind of that region understand how good of a school it is. What a great coaching staff they have there. And they've kind of blended some guys who have been there prior to Coach Aoki. They brought in Coach Aoki to be the head coach. This is his third year. And, they won 33 games last year. And like, again, it's always so fun when we come in some of these programs, it depends on the program, but recently they give us such access, and, we got to be in a position player meeting and just listen to what they're coaching and what's important. And it was hysterical. It was like so ironic to me because we sit in that meeting and we listen to, what they were going over. They were breaking down film from an inter squad the weekend before. And they're talking about defense and base running and like how it's going to win them or lose them games. And they're getting on their guys or getting on their older guys. to make a point, and then we watched the Major League Baseball world's mind be blown by a wheel play, and we were like, I was just sitting like 3 hours ago. I was just sitting in a Richmond position player meeting where they're like talking about this stuff. But yeah, just like incredible people. We're so lucky at some of these schools, like these. There's just a lot of really good people in college baseball, and a really lot of really good baseball people in college baseball. Coach Aoki, just another guy that we've been able to, a head coach that we've been able to sit down with, and like his baseball brain is like 150, which is just so cool. And like obviously, like you said, the experience in the places he's been, and a great coach, and forgot more baseball than I'll ever learn about probably, but it's more impressive to talk to him about stuff outside of baseball, just how intelligent he is, how kind of level-headed he is, his perspective on like just the world, and how things work, and like a guy that like I would love to be friends with unrelated to baseball, like a guy who I would love to ask for advice, things like that. Like just a really smart guy and really great, and all of them. I mean, Colin Raddick was just like just such a good dude. I mean, that whole staff. Kyle, shout out Kyle. Kyle's a fan of ours, and that's what was pretty cool. And these guys like, hey, enjoy your content. Just a great staff they've put together down there, and really excited for what they have going on. I think they're kind of on an upward trajectory of what they can possibly accomplish, especially in the Atlantic 10. And they feel confident, as they should, and it's probably a good school to recruit to, because you get a lot of high academic kids who are self motivated, which I always think helps. And um, I thought like a really cool campus in a fun kind of small school environment. I sometimes enjoy these because like we Penn State, unbelievable. Everyone knows what it is. It's massive. It's a big college town. Georgia, same thing. LSU, like you go to these places, they're huge. The glitz and but then to see like these small community, small town, small community, small campus schools is kind of fun. Like I also get a kick out of like you're walking around Richmond's facility and like kind of where their offices are, weight room, training room, everything. Like these big schools, everyone has their own thing. A school like Richmond, we're walking by football coaches and basketball coaches all day. And like, it's just kind of, I don't know, something about that almost gives you more school spirit, as corny as that sounds. Like, cause like, oh, there goes, like, the football coach, you walk by him every day, even as a player, as a student athlete, you start to learn that face. If you're walk past them at the same time, the same hallway every day, you might develop a relationship with them. We were talking to, there was one of their guys is doing video stuff for the basketball program. And that opportunity probably arises because his coach's office is next to the basketball coach's office. So he's someone who's interested in doing video stuff. And so, he's working with the basketball program while being on the baseball team. And I think stuff like that is really cool.
Yeah, it's I do enjoy that. It's more of an intimate setting, right? As an
Mm-hmm.
athletic department, as somebody who had, we had an office obviously at the field, but we had an office with the like, typical school, like a Division III school. Like there's a floor of all coaches, right? So you're next to track and field, you're next to women's hockey, men's ice hockey, basketball. Everybody's in this kind of confined area, and you get to build a little bit more camaraderie compared to, again, some of these baseball programs. As much as you want to be secluded and have an office that overlooks the field and not be distracted and things like that, it definitely, creates a more college feel compared to a more professional feel when guys are able to
Yes.
just come and get their work in their little bubble. Obviously that's an advantage for them to take advantage of. So, but yeah, I mean, what you said about Coach Aoki and really the whole coaching staff is 100% valid. Again, like the shocker, right? Somebody who spent time at an Ivy, Notre Dame, Boston College, those places, high academics, has such a good perspective
Perspective.
on the economics of college athletics, the modern landscape, the disadvantages of things like name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal and all of these things, and just a perspective that goes beyond how to get the best athlete to a program and to play as much baseball as possible before they go play professional baseball, right? For a guy with the experience he has, it's about that 40-year decision, and I think every decision in his career has been evidence of that. And it's really cool to get that perspective, right? Because it's not about how revenue sharing can help. Like, again, we've been at some great programs, and we've had programs talk about how they're getting this much in revenue share and their rivals are getting this much in revenue share and they have this much in NIL and that much in NIL. It's good to finally get somebody who's going to go, yeah, I love that athletes have the freedom to make money, but this is why we feel also as a high academic program that that's not the end all be all. Like, this is why we feel like this is a situation where we can make the most of our opportunity to get them an education that they deserve, right? And that's going to pave the way for a professional career outside of sports, because one or two guys are actually going to make a living off of Major League Baseball, while also giving them opportunity to play baseball at a high level, also have the opportunity to play professional baseball if that's in the cards for them in terms of development, and also give them just setting people up for the future, because so many times we see these college athletes making boatloads of money. And I know they don't make that much money in baseball like they do in football or basketball. But the reality is if 40K a year in college is a lot of money when room and board's paid for, when food's paid for, when a lot of your clothes are paid for, when mommy and daddy are still involved. There's so many different things that it's like, yeah, that's not 40K for an adult, right? That's 40K
Right.
for a student. And,
You don't have the
all
same
those things.
responsibilities.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it probably carries the same weight as 80K to 90K does for a regular adult. So that was probably my favorite part of the day. And that's not to say that anything else wasn't great. Sitting in the meeting was awesome to hear them talk about the things that matter, to use big league examples of guys doing things the right way, to use examples of things they need to work on, because the margins are what win and lose you baseball games. And it's cool to kind of see more and more film be brought into baseball
Yeah.
and everything that is a part of it, because and they talked about it. I know you talked about it with Kyle a little bit more than I did. I was getting some B-roll when you guys were having this conversation, but them talking about how they spend legitimate time watching their opponent and trying to figure out their tendencies and how they coach and things like that, and how they can use that. Like, we can't be caught off guard by a wheel play, because they've shown the wheel play. Like, if they run a pick play, like, we're going to know those things that they run, and doing some scouting on opponents, no different than a football program would. That was pretty cool conversation that you guys had.
Yeah, and I think it's really impactful to hear them, like they kept talking about how they want the other team to be exhausted when they get done playing them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's a really good
That's
one
cool.
too.
I like
That's true.
that mindset.
Mentally taxing. Imagine, we've all been there. There's teams
Hmm.
that they might be talented, but they're not mentally taxing to play against. And there's teams that are like, oh my god, we're gonna have to freaking. I want nothing. I sat on a bucket the whole day, and I want a burger and fries to freaking get
Yeah,
out of this because I'm freaking
I'm
exhausted.
exhausted.
So awesome. Well, I'm excited to see that content come out. Obviously, we had a great time up in Richmond. We have a ton of fun stuff playing. Got to continue to map out what the rest of the fall looks like, but we're super excited about what we're building. So if you're still listening at this point, you really need to smash the subscribe button. We didn't even talk about the fact that our conversation with Chris Martin came out this week. We've got a ton of good content still to come from Penn State. Check out the facility tour. Check out Strength and Conditioning with Chris Martin. He was awesome, phenomenal conversation with him. Really shows a lot of evidence of why that program is as successful as it is at the highest level. And then obviously we have Richmond, ton of trips planned. So really excited about what we're continuing to build out and continuing to be able to have access to. But smash the subscribe button, follow on all social channels. Make sure you like this video, comment, let us know what you think about playoff baseball and some of the approaches offense has had. And we'll see you next time on the Baseball Development Hub